Order, roll call.
Smith. Glass.
Here.
Hanson.
Here.
Fisher. Sherman.
Here.
Tucker.
Here.
Swallow. Here.
Approval of minutes of special meeting held September 14th, 2022.
I'll move to approve those minutes.
Second. Roll call vote.
Tucker.
Yes.
Sherman.
Yes.
Glass.
Yes.
Hanson.
Yes.
Swallow. Yes.
Next is discussion and action on financial statement from September 2022.
Motion to approve the financials for September 2022.
I've got a question.
And I bet I know your answer. I bet I have it for you. Go ahead.
So what on page, way back, page 16, what's a group budget? Because that's way more than our budget.
16.
You know, I'm not sure what this is.
Hold on, let me find it, because we had some. Okay. Is the general ledger account totals, is that what you're looking
Well,
at?
it says group budget, and the budget over and available budget, 861, our budget is what, 5 something?
Oh, that's not what I thought you were going to ask.
I said-
So, yeah, I don't know that.
I think that might be the entirety of the Economic Development Authority and not just Parks and Rec. But we don't, and even at that, I think it's probably just a feature in the encode system that we don't use. But when Jennifer runs the reports, I can get Jennifer on the phone if you'd like.
I'm just curious what is, because even the annual budget is more than what ours is, right?
Well, the annual budget is if you look at the very first page, page 5, that is the budget.
Which number?
673, 729.
Okay. I was looking to the right, okay.
Do you-
Oh, yeah.
Do you want me to call Jennifer?
I'm just curious what it is.
Okay.
Let me, even before you.
Actually, I'll just text her, and we can keep meeting and then.
Okay, so if you start looking really into that and start adding up numbers on that are not going to add up. And let me tell you why.
He approved it.
Well, he did.
No, I what I just said. I'm kidding you.
But what happens is
fault.
in code, it goes to September 3rd, okay? But if the checks are cut after September 3rd, then they aren't going to show up on this ledger. But yet, if there's a PO for them, they will. Okay, so for instance, if you look at page 3,
Page 3 or page 7?
well, I think mine are
Okay, I see.
the financial
I see
statement.
page 3.
Okay, the financial statement. If you look down there at utilities, you'll see that the current period was paid out of $20,800 or $585. You see that? But if you scroll back here to these pages where what's been paid, the utilities do not add up to that. So therefore, they sent me, as I questioned that, they sent me everything from October 1st to October 10th, where the checks were actually cut between that time period, and those numbers add up on this second sheet. So we're going to do things a little bit different, or they are downtown, they're going to do things a little bit different. We're going to cut off encode and payments at September 25th, so that way everything gets in the financial statement correctly. So they can put it in the system, but the check's not cut. So the numbers show up here, but your ledger's not going to be add up.
So there's not even an OG&E bill on here.
No, I think there's only an AT&T. There might be a small
Well,
one.
I'm saying ONG, but
But no, so that's what I'm saying. So these sheets right here, the second sheet that I have, and I didn't have time to print them because she just emailed me, I apologize. But, so, there's 3 electric bills that were paid between October 1 and October 10. And the reason that they didn't show up on here is because they were mailed out after after the September 30th financials.
So the 20,585 is probably not correct.
It is correct.
So it was accrued, but it hadn't been paid out.
Correct.
It's accrual accounting
And
instead of cash accounting.
right, and we switched to cash accounting 2 fiscal years ago. Or one,
So that number is right, but I will tell you, we are looking into the OG&E bill. Because if you look, we only have 45,000, budgeted, and we've already used 20. The OG&E bill has been in question for the last 3 months.
Courtney and I are gonna go out and build you a windmill.
Yeah, we're gonna put a windmill right over there. So hopefully we can get those numbers back down and figure out what's going on with those. Because our baseball field lighting was more than our softball field lighting when softball was used 20 times more than
But they're
baseball.
different meters.
Do it, yes.
They're probably not LED.
We are looking at an LED conversion for the whole city, and so that would encompass that. And we're looking at some grant money with OG&E to be able to do it.
So what I can do is I can forward this email and blind CC everybody of what she sent me from October 1st to October 10th, so you can look over those numbers.
So are these financials correct or not?
They are.
The financials are correct. They don't look correct, but they're correct. That
The
makes
right
sense.
amount is accrued, just the actual cash out of the account hasn't been accounted for yet on these financials.
Because these financials were ran at September 30th.
Any other questions? Entertain a motion?
Motion to approve the September financials.
Like Craig said.
I need a second. Sherman, motion, I need a second.
I'll second.
Roll call vote?
Sherman,
Yes.
Black,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Tucker,
Yes.
Swallow. Yes.
You have director's report?
Okay, so talk to Tier 1, they're supposed to be out Monday. We will see if they show, but they're gonna come out Monday. They will be here until 4 o'clock every day, and they told me then they'll get off the floor at 4, so we can still continue on with
So
practices.
They come in with insulation.
They're coming to start, yes, the repairs, so,
Strip the skin off.
yeah. So hopefully they, I'll keep everybody informed, but they're supposed to be here Monday to start that. Competitive basketball signups have been going on, and we are sitting at 38 teams. Our max that we can take is 40. The last time that we were even close to that number was in 2014. So that's looking really good. The only problem we're going to have is finding officials, but
That teams from other places, more teams from out.
yeah, we've got, Anthony, Harper, Kremlin, Enid, Woodward, Winoka, just probably within an hour and a half radius all the way around. So pretty good numbers there.
So that's some more towns than we've had, some different towns, isn't it?
I'm not going to say different towns, maybe different teams, because there's a couple new Enid teams. San Kremlin, some new faces, but not new towns. Rec League basketball sign-up started. Deadline for that's November 11th. That's just basically first and second. We will offer the older. Our numbers probably won't be that high for that since competitive basketball is so high. Co-ed volleyball for adult. Deadline for that's October 21st. Zeph, my part-time guy, He aerated all the baseball and softball fields. He's gonna start putting rye on those tomorrow. So those will be done, and then he'll do softball last. Or soccer last, sorry. Do baseball and softball, and then soccer last. That's all I have.
Can I go back to the roof?
Yep.
So Kelly, Gene Myers, our engineer, right? Myers Engineering?
I'd have to, I don't know off the top of my head. I know we use different engineers in
He was
different
the
parts
last
of
one
town.
that came
So-
up.
so
He was the
they-
last one that came up here.
Okay.
Gene was.
They put on any responsibility other than just engineering the drawings.
I'd have to look at their agreement with us, because sometimes the engineers are, did we ever sign off that we were okay with the finished product?
No.
Then that would have been, I mean, that's the extent of Myers.
So I mean, should they have somebody
Because we've never been happy with him.
on site to make sure all this stuff's done correctly, or do they have no responsibility, is my question? The engineer.
I would have, sometimes the contracts say that they do have that punch list type stuff. And even if it's not in the contract we signed, we can get them up here.
I hate us, of course, be in the same boat again. I mean, they do something incorrect when we start having leaks. I mean, I think somebody has some oversight, because we know that Tier 1's not going to have any oversight. I mean, they're not going to oversight themselves. They've already shown that.
No, I mean, there would be a punch list that the engineer would do. If it was in, and even if it's not in the contract, we can ask them to come out and do the punch list on that. And it just costs us a little bit extra. I wasn't here for the negotiation of that contract or how, without having it in front of me, I just don't know what it says. But I do know that they can come out and do that if they're the ones that engineered the project. So it may or may not be included in the agreement for this project, but I know they can do it. I'll get a hold of Bill and see if he or anybody else can come up.
Well, tell them what's going on. That's my concern, if we're going to have leaks, if they don't get everything screwed back in the right spot.
I haven't done
I'd
that.
love to have a leak right now.
Yeah. I'd like to be able to tell you.
I'll get a hold of Bill, see what he can do for us. He's always willing to.
Bill was aware of the issues that we had, going in, and I don't know the last contact that has been.
Bill doesn't have any, all he can do is say is that it's either good or it's not good, but he doesn't have any teeth to hold him accountable. Now, I will say that in the engineering world, when you go put out bids and you have competitive processes, Bill's in enough, boardrooms that he can say, well, if contractor A does what they did at Alva, then
But that doesn't do us any good.
that doesn't do us any good. But he can make sure that it's, because we still haven't paid him either. So we won't pay him until it's, satisfactory.
They had to bond this, didn't they? The roofing company had to bond the
Oh, yeah.
projects. I mean, you have the bond to go against, because there should be a maintenance period from the time you sign off on it to the end of the bond, and then you could always file against the roofing company's insurance. Because the only thing engineering is going to do is say whether or not it was to spec of what the engineering told them to do. So your only recourse would be to go against their actual work performed under their liability.
And then our sidewalk. Mark, ever come out?
He did come out, but he's not gonna be able to fix it. I was gonna call, Chris Green, let's see if he can.
So I had.
Anything else in director's report?
I think that's it.
City council report?
Well, as I was speaking before this meeting started, if you're interested in seeing everything that the city council could possibly do all in one evening, next Monday is your day. We will be, I'll just try to hit the highlights, but we will be looking at water meters for the entire city. We'll be looking at a resolution to take the ARPA funds that have been sent out by the federal government to used them against payroll expenses during the pandemic. That's about $870,000, which pretty big deal for the city of Alva, because that's pretty much going to right the ship from everything that had happened over the last few years. So that's a good thing. We're going to be dilapidated properties on the agenda. There's some employee recognition that we're going to do, and quite a few things on this particular agenda. But the city had, after the last council meeting, directed me to negotiate a contract with an interim business manager. So we've been working on getting contract terms, and I think Monday evening we'll have terms to agreed upon so that the council can make a decision on that. And I think, and then the other items are relevant to the action items that are here on your agenda here in a little bit. So I'm happy to try to answer any questions.
Discussion and action on the ARC bleacher repair.
So I did put a quote in your packet there. Our bleachers are original. We haven't done anything besides maybe a little bit of motor repairs on those. All of those channel wheels are deteriorating. We're moving them in and out. The motors, some of those motors are starting to go bad as well. If we remove that top bleacher row, it will push those bleachers back off of the court, which is really a safety issue right now with it being on the court. What we do is we just take that out, they push it back, replace the motors, replace all of those wheels, and then we have the option to do to remove the existing handrails. The handrails that we have right now, you have to manually use a little tool, pull them up, lay them down before you push the bleachers back. The picture on the back is how, if we replaced it, and that's what they would do. You wouldn't have to manually put them up or put them down. They just fold back with the bleachers. I think safety-wise and repairing everything that's starting to break on us, this is something that needs to be done. Whether we do it this fiscal year, he thinks he can slide us in over the holidays. When we have a big break between the end of December's basketball and starting in January. If we choose not to approve this right now, I would like to put it in at least next year's budget and have it approved in next fiscal year for sure, and get it done then. So those are the options, whether we approve it now and go ahead and get it done, or if we just put it in next year's budget and do it then. So. But it is something that needs to be done for safety and repair of all bleachers.
Courtney checked around for other contractors, and this is really all she come up with. There aren't any requirements to go out to bid on this because it's under $50,000, but it is over the spending limit for Courtney and myself. So if you guys want to take advantage of this quote, then it'll just take your action, and then we can work on the scheduling of it after that point. The finances, it wasn't approved in this year's budget, but you do have in your cash balances, you do have funds from previous years that could be applied to this, or you could, consider reducing what was already budgeted in your capital outlay, which I think is primarily for chip and seal on the parking lot. So you've got options there. I don't particularly have a preference to recommend, just whatever you guys think would be most appropriate.
What's wrong with row 7 and
7 and 8 would be pushed back.
8? I know it says to rebuild.
Because in order to put them up against the wall, they would have to rebuild 7 and 8 to be able to get them attached to the wall like 9 is.
8 would have to be rebuilt to be like 9 is, and 7 would have to be rebuilt to be like 8 is.
Because 7 and 8, actually, 8 and 9 don't push all the way back. So like when you push them, 8 and 9 don't push back. So therefore, if you rebuild them, 7 pushes back right now. You'd have to fix it for it to be like 8 and 9 is right now. That make sense? Kind of? When you push them back, 7 pushes back with them. But 8 and 9 stay out. That's as far as it
How
goes.
often do we push those back?
Quite a bit, actually, believe it or not, yeah.
It wore out the motors and the wheels.
Yeah.
Is there a lifespan on the fix? I mean, if we replace motors and wheels, do they give us like a, do we know? I mean,
I
obviously.
can ask him, I mean, that's been 20 years on those.
Right, well, that's what I'm wondering, if we can get 20 years out of them. And
I mean, and actually, it's probably needed to be done the last couple of years, but, I mean, I would say 15, 20 years on. And he also says what's bad on those motors is that when the bleachers are going up over that silver part that's on the floor, it takes, when it has to lift up over that, it puts more pressure on that motor, and so then therefore, it's harder on the motor. So, I did not realize that. So if it's just a flat surface and it doesn't have to go on the court, then I don't have the motors as well.
Back it up. Where it would be after this, it wouldn't go over the.
Right,
No,
yeah.
not yet. Getting there.
The vinyl end curtain, that's not part of this quote.
No,
It would be something added separate.
something added separate, or I was even thinking we could probably make that one work, honestly, because we could just, it would be too long. I think we just kind of peel it back or something, yeah.
Any other questions? Entertain a motion?
That's your recommendation?
I would like to repair them, whether it be now or later, but, I
How do you
mean,
go with this, is that your recommendation?
yeah, that's mine.
I'd make a motion to go with Heartland on the bleacher repair.
Would you state the amount?
Do I have to add it up?
No, okay, I didn't realize it wasn't as added up. Let me add it up for you.
$34,978.
That's what I got.
Okay, so I guess, and I don't know if that needs to be in here, but does it need to be a motion of this year, using it in this fiscal year? Do we need to add that in there? Or,
If the board has a preference, if the board has a preference that it be pushed to the next fiscal year, then we wouldn't make a motion today.
okay, all right.
So we can adjust the budget.
Yep.
That'd be my motion to do it this fiscal year. It'll be higher next year.
second.
Roll call vote?
Glass,
Yes.
Sherman,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Tucker,
Yes.
Swallow. Yes.
Discussion and action to invest a portion of Parks and Recreation, AEDA, Economic Development, cash balance and a certificate of deposit.
Courtney and I were kind of visiting about some of the things that come up, and in that same token, I mean, we have our regular sales tax that comes in. We have revenue from the events and programs that we offer, and we do have a history of having some CDs for the Parks and Rec, or the ARC anyway, and it was there for however long it was. Interest rates really weren't worth messing with, but they're starting to come up. You got over $600,000 in cash right now, and I don't think that I would necessarily be in favor of putting all that into a CD, but let's say if, for instance, you took I'm not saying to do this, I'm not making a recommendation, but if you took $500,000, put it in a CD, and in 12 months you'd have $15,000 at 3% interest. So, I mean, if you don't have an immediate use for the cash, there might be some extra money to be made, and so I wondered if you guys wanted to have a motion to do that, or if you want me to go back and talk with the treasurer and the finance committee and see if we can come back with you for options, or, but you know, if we'd have done that for 2 years, we'd have paid for this bleacher project, for instance. Now, you wouldn't have got that prior to now,
Right.
but,
I got a percent, you just as well,
yeah.
better word, you get the house ready.
Well, we'll come back with, do you have any preference on how much of that cash balance you'd want to tie up?
It don't matter, it, 250 for 6 months, 250 for a year. I don't know, just,
Okay.
and you're gonna have to clear all the same.
No. We get, you know, better rate for longer terms, but anything better than what we're getting right now.
Can we
Well,
just,
not necessarily. Sometimes these shorter rates, you better than count on another rate. Right, the way things are right now.
It has been kind of screwy, you're right.
can we have the treasurer get us quotes for both sets, laddering it and getting the 500,000?
Yep.
And then we can look at that and decide how we want to do it at that point. Because I'm with Greg, if it's 2.5 to do it for 6 months, but it's 2.4 to do it for a year, then we might as well do, you know what I mean? I don't know what the rates are exactly right now, but
So the way the banks have been working with us, basically we've got an amount of money. We haven't done any new CDs. We've reinvested the ones we've had, and so we've not really had this. So we've always had an amount in mind and when it matured and that sort of thing. They won't give us, you know, hard numbers except within a short period of time, which is going to be well before you meet next time. Do you want me to hold off and ask Trent to get that information the week before you guys meet? Or do you want us to, your board doesn't have to take action on this except to say that you want to put it in a CD, and then the rest of us.
So we meet again around 29.
Okay.
We get it time.
All right. We'll do that.
do we need a motion on that, or is that just?
The direction you've given me is adequate.
So where that cash is sitting right now, it's not drawing anything at all.
Maybe 0.5%.
It's drawing something.
Yeah, just very little. If that, and I may not be,
But it's drawing something.
I'm not positive.
No action is needed, what you have is appropriate.
I've got the direction I need.
Discussion on pool progress.
I'll let Courtney and Kate talk for sure, but
And I'll let Kate talk.
don't let Kate talk?
I said I'll let her.
Oh. You know, she came all this way. Let her. But we do have this on the agenda for the city council as well, so, you know, assuming you guys are okay with the plan, and I'll let Kay explain the plan, but assuming you guys are okay with the plan, we'll take it in front of city council, and they'll have action on it on Monday night. So, and your recommendation will carry weight in their, I would make the assumption that your recommendation will carry weight in their decision making.
Okay, regarding pool progress, we submitted the land and water conservation grant application on September 26th. We met last Tuesday, the pool advisory committee did. We're meeting at least once a month, sometimes twice, and had to change the date of our plans unveiling event to November 6th. Due to a couple of community-wide conflicts that were going on October 23rd. So we'll have the plans unveiling out here on November the 6th. It'll be a come and go kind of thing, 5:30 to 7:30. Hamburgers will be available, and like to see that as a fundraising opportunity as well. So I'd like to invite all of you all to put that on your calendar and come out. Once City Council and you all approve all of this, then we'll get busy on the display boards and the brochures that we need to get done. We are in process of making application for additional grants to be used for the pool. We had some discussion about going ahead with developing a master plan for Hatfield Park. We will need to get a National Register nomination done for Hatfield Park, which will probably be, Kelly wasn't at 5,000 for the pool. That contract was for 5,000, I think it was, for the National Register nomination.
Oh, yeah, that's about what it was.
Yeah, so that'll be step one, and then we'll get busy with the contracting for the master plan work to be done. And I know that I'm kind of moving to the park here, but because of the way grant cycles go, unless you guys want to be 2040 doing this, we got to keep things rolling. And while we're working at it, we might as well. And so for that reason, we're already talking about master plan work for Hatfield Park. It'll take 6 months to get it done. National Register work takes 6 months to get it done, so we're already into 2023. And then application cycles. The next application cycle is September 30, unless they change it at 2023, and we plan to submit for that money for Hatfield Park, because it is about a 12-month wait period once you submit. So we're talking about a lot of things, but it's to keep this process rolling, and the pool process is going good, I think. So with that, I'd like to move on into item 9.
Move to item number 9, discussions and action to approve the plan for the pool, bathhouse, and pool from Kimley Horn Architects as recommended by the City of Alva Citizen Pool Advisory Committee.
Okay, if you'll take a look in your packet, you have 2 pages here. These are renderings for the exterior of the bathhouse and the also the interior of the bathhouse, and then the pool itself. So when the pool was built in 1939, the WPA used white paint on everything, which makes for a pretty dull looking building. So we've asked our architects to jazz this up a little bit. As you will notice on the back side, looking at this page, we're changing the entry into the pool to the east side, so that the gate going in will be on the east side of the where that kind of that portico area is, on the north side of the bathhouse, and that's where you will pay to get into the pool. And then, to make it all the more confusing, if you look at this page, you'll enter the bathhouse from the north doors. The bathhouse basically will stay as it is, because it is a historic structure, although we are bringing it up to code and ADA accessibility requirements on the inside. And we have, I think, done a pretty good use of space. The multi-purpose room will be a revenue generator space. It can be leased out for birthday parties, any kind of gathering. That's on the northwest corner of the bathhouse. It's been used for storage all this time, but we'll have a new pump house, and so all chemicals and things like that will be stored in the pump house. Then in the winter time, when the pool is not open, staff can actually store inflatables and those kinds of things in the multi-purpose room if they need to. So let's look at the pool itself, which is this rendering. It has changed very little from the first time you looked at it, except we have added the diving well, which is item 4 at the far north end of the pool. And we've widened the middle section a little bit and reduced that viewing peninsula, which is where item 1 is at. So the photographs that you see on both sides are of the amenities that we're going to include. So we have a basketball court, so to speak. We have children's play structure, which will be in the middle of the shallow end. We have spray features or splash pad area in the entry. We do have the slide water cannons. They're calling them floatables. They're actually inflatables that you can walk on across the water, and then the climbing wall. We are not intending to add a diving board at this time, but it certainly can be added because we have the capacity for that at the deep end. So the pool itself will be very different from what we've got now. About half the water, and Kelly, about half the water square footage of what we've got now, which is will be a tremendous conservation mechanism. About a capacity of 400, and we felt like that would be adequate in most instances. On busy days, may need to put people in shifts. I don't know how you guys want to do it, but it should satisfy the need. So with that, I'll entertain any questions that you might have.
So, no concession, or that be underneath this?
We're going to have a food truck park on the west side of the pool fence. Outside of bottled water and maybe canned pop, does the city need to be in the business of selling food?
Or just most places have it?
We'll have it, but it'll be
You'll have
a
to-
contracted with a vendor.
That's anticipated to be a year-round contract, because we feel like the high school students will come use that during the school year, even when the pool's not open.
And then visitors to have to park, maybe even baseball
Maybe
field.
eat lunch and whatnot. Talking about high school kids eat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Actually, I think it could be a pretty good
Probably pretty
opportunity.
lucrative for somebody.
Yeah. So we've got room over there. We've asked the architects to make sure that there's adequate ADA accessibility on that west side as well as the east side, and lighting and all of that. I think the big question will be when we're looking at electrical and water, do we want to meter that separately on that side for food truck vendor access or what? I don't know how we'll want to do it, but that's something to take a look at. But anyway, it's, it won't change a whole lot looking at it from the south, but everything else will be very different.
Is it just one vendor, or numerous vendors, or rotating vendors, or?
Yep.
Whatever. Yes, all of the above. Whatever needs to happen.
Well, I'm guessing if it actually becomes an issue that we can't get a vendor, we could always put vending machines in or
We
something
could,
like that.
yeah, it's
Well,
not,
and there's room, when we talked about, the committee talked about this the other night, there's room there where where it's currently the outdoor, picnic area. With that being the entry, there's plenty of room there to put some refrigerators and, a shelf with some chips on it, or, candy bars, stuff like that. Maybe put the candy bars in the fridge.
about every place that we have visited, I'd say 3/4 of them contracted out thinking, yeah, so it's not done by the city. So, that's where we are with the plans, and I talked to the architect today prior to coming to this meeting, and he said that they'll be working out a design what do you call it? Completing everything, and then we'll be ready to start putting together the actual construction documents and letting the bids go out, probably right over the first year.
So if the money's there, we can start before all the national storage stuff.
If the money is there,
For the,
yeah.
The grant, okay, correct me if I'm wrong, but the grant money is intended to be focused on the bathhouse.
Right.
And so that being a later part of the progression of the project, we have time to make sure that we can start on the project without jeopardizing that grant funding.
Because we built that in for the bathhouse redo, fencing, lighting, sidewalks, everything that comes last.
How deep is the section between number 1 and number 4? How that
I
open
think
space
they
is.
said that is about, the shallow end was, wish I could read that.
It says 3 to 6.
The one between 1 and 5 says 3 to 6.
Yeah, it's not,
So
it's,
3 to 6 that whole way.
yeah. And that's where a lot of the, what did they say? The inflatables, the walkable, inflatable, that kind of stuff is there. The basketball court.
Well, if you remember, the pool as it sits right now, I mean, there was 2/3 of it that never had hardly anybody in it because it was over their head. And
Yeah.
that we will be able to have, children about anywhere in this pool.
But it is deep enough for lap. We can do some
That was
laps.
my thought, was
Yeah.
from an exercise
Yeah.
standpoint, making sure
It's
that
deep
there's
enough for,
space there.
yeah, there is. And eventually when we do programming, looking at kayaking, canoeing, yeah, we can do that.
Thank you.
Other questions?
How many lifeguards we have on duty at one time?
They told us that if it were full, we'd need to have at least 5.
What the old pool had, like,
5?
Sounds like a lot more.
I think they had 5.
Was it 5?
So,
The lifeguard stations, are they part of this diagram, or is that?
they didn't really ever talk to us about that, but I have no doubt they know
I
where they
think
need to go.
they're walking.
Okay,
I don't think they're stationary.
gotcha.
There
So they
may
can't
be-
fall asleep.
There may be a couple of them, Kelly, but
Lifeguard stations with the angles of view.
I don't know. He didn't really go into it with us. He just said there
on
would be
vacation out of
5
town, I just-
if there's,
Kids out there.
Yeah.
if it's full. Yeah,
I'm guessing you
That's
have
all my kids ever.
you have to have one on the slide,
I don't know.
or
But
by the slide, and then you'd have to have one by the diving board area, and then 3. But I don't know. Over there by number 6, it looks like there's markers for field of view for.
Oh, yes. Number
I don't-
6 is those water cannons.
Is that what that is?
Yeah.
The water cannons?
That's where the water cannons.
Oh,
are.
okay, okay. So that's how far those
That's
spray,
why it
maybe.
looks like how they spray, yeah.
Yeah, okay, I see that now.
Other questions?
I gotta go.
We would entertain a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the plan for the pool bathhouse and pool design from Kinley Horn.
Second.
Roll call vote?
Glass,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Sherman,
Yes.
Tucker,
Yes.
Swall. Yes.
Remarks and inquiries by board members? Entertain a motion to adjourn.
don't have to motion to
You
it.
don't have to do it,
Yeah.
Chair.
All right,